I do want to talk about that as well as President Obama and his relationship with this international communist movement. Of course, he regards Brazil as a friend, the government of Brazil. He just normalized relations with Castro's Cuba using Pope Francis as a mediator.
So you have three great schemes. Well, and the Catholic Church could be and would ideally be the main center of resistance to these three schemes. But it looks to be adhering already to these things. Owing
yes,
to this
and that's the, Olavo, that's the subject of a column. I've written a couple articles about this. I've got one up today about how a leading Marxist writer has actually written a long piece. Let me grab his name here. Has written a long piece. I quote it in my own article as referring to the capture by, quote, progressive forces of the Vatican. And this Marxist says that, in his view, Pope Francis, who comes from Argentina, who's a Jesuit, is part of a process to take over the Vatican, to use it on behalf of these progressive forces internationally. And in other words, the left, the pro-communist, the anti-American left, is really hailing what Francis is doing at the Vatican. And like you, Olavo, I was very hopeful that the Roman Catholic Church would lead the resistance to these various schemes.
This is the church mission, huh?
Yeah. It's tragic to see what's happening with the Pope making statements against capitalism, embracing all this so-called climate change rhetoric about how capitalism is destroying Mother Earth. At this World Conference of Popular Movements at the Vatican last October that I write about in my column today, the Pope met with what Armando Valladares calls Marxist revolutionaries. They were there in the Vatican with the Pope. The Pope met with them. He highlighted their, quote, struggle. He met with Evo Morales, the Marxist president of Bolivia, who, when he was reelected last year, gave credit to Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez. It's the same thing that Armando Valladares, who served 22 years in prison in Castro's Cuba, said in his column that I quote today. He talks about how he's so disappointed in the Pope who made this deal with Obama and Castro to recognize Cuba. He says this threatens the entire future of Latin America. He puts it the Christian future of the Americas.